The world isn't shocked by a poor African nation doing something new. It's terrified when that nation starts breaking the rules of the giants. Ibrahim Traoré, a young leader who didn't study in Paris, is bypassing polished diplomacy to directly dismantle centuries of colonial-style shackles. Why do global powers feel so insecure about a small nation if their only intent was aid, as they've always claimed? The answer lies in two things every superpower must control to maintain absolute dominance: gold and currency. Burkina Faso is a painful paradox, possessing 2,000 tons of gold, yet 95% of its value flows abroad, leaving only dust and poverty. Traoré realized that without domestic refining, the country remains a debtor, selling raw resources cheap only to buy them back at a premium. He did the unthinkable, built the first national gold refinery in Ouagadougou, and slapped an absolute ban on raw gold exports. This isn't just an economic shift, it's a dagger cutting the extract-to-impoverish model that has been a trap for decades. But gold is only half the game. The other half is far more sensitive and dangerous: the CFA Franc. Can you imagine an independent nation forced to store its foreign reserves in a former colonizer's treasury just to use its own money? The CFA Franc isn't a tool for growth, it's a leash tethering Burkina Faso's economy to the heartbeat of Paris. By establishing a national bank and distancing from the CFA system, Traoré has effectively declared war on the global financial order. Without monetary sovereignty, an economy is like a body with constricted veins, unable to breathe or grow on its own terms. International investors call him reckless, but his people call him the man reclaiming their national destiny. However, by touching gold and money, Traoré has entered a high-stakes game where the opponents never accept defeat lightly. With gold and currency in motion, Traoré turned his sights to the deepest level of survival: the land. In Burkina Faso, hundreds of thousands of fertile hectares were held by foreign corporations through 99-year lease agreements. On paper, it was investment, but in reality, local farmers became impoverished laborers on the very soil of their ancestors. Over 300,000 families were left landless, while the most productive fields served interests half a world away. Traoré signed a ruthless land law, reclaiming all unfairly occupied territory to redistribute it back to the actual farmers. But he didn't repeat historical mistakes of simply handing out land and leaving the poor to struggle without support. His reform is anchored by a triple threat strategy: cooperatives, subsidized credit, and sustainable farming techniques. Farmers are no longer alone. They now have seeds, fertilizer, and capital flowing from the newly established national banking system. From the soil, the economic blueprint expands into industrial backbones: cotton and cement. Cotton is white gold, yet for decades it was exported raw while locals were forced to import expensive foreign clothing. Traoré's mandate: no raw exports. Process it here, create jobs for women, and ignite a domestic textile value chain. The same applies to cement. Instead of relying on high-priced imports, local plants are prioritized to fuel the nation's infrastructure. This isn't isolationism, it's a rebellion against being locked at the very bottom of the global value chain. However, reclaiming land and resources means dismantling an old order that is incredibly well fortified. The anger of global powers doesn't stem from Burkina Faso getting rich, it stems from an incredibly dangerous precedent. If a poor, conflict-torn nation can achieve sovereignty, the question, why can't we, will echo across the entire continent. Ibrahim Traoré isn't just building a country, he is shaking the foundations of an exploitative system that has run smoothly for decades. The West is losing more than just cheap gold, they are losing a geopolitical buffer and the obedience of former allies. Military bases labeled as security aid were expelled, as Traoré bluntly asked, why don't rich nations need this protection on their soil? He isn't anti-West, he is anti-dependency, an attitude that requires courage bordering on defiance in the modern world. Naturally, this path isn't paved with roses. Burkina Faso faces sanctions, isolation, and covert coup attempts. But look at the new roads, the rising factories, and the renewed confidence in the eyes of the people in Ouagadougou. When surplus value no longer leaks into the ocean, it begins to soak into the earth, nurturing a generation that refuses to bow. Traoré may not be a perfect leader, but he is the one who dared to speak the truth when everyone else chose silence. This gold revolution is a stark reminder: true independence is never granted, it must be seized. It begins by controlling resources, asserting monetary rights, and defending every inch of ancestral land. The world is watching with bated breath, because Burkina Faso's outcome will redefine the future of a rising continent. Will the old order collapse, or will the pressure from the giants extinguish this newly sparked flame of freedom? The answer doesn't lie in Paris or Washington, it is being written by the hands of the Burkinabe people themselves.